3, 2, 1, and y'all are live.
You're live.
Good evening. Welcome to Insight to Mental Health. No, I am not Robert B. Avenue. He's at the Writers Guild of Acadiana meeting. He is a published author. His latest book, From Light to Darkness to Glory, has been published, and there's a signing tonight at Atmosphere, somewhere around 9:30, I believe. And somewhere before midnight, he'll start reading. To my left is our co-host, Emily Welch.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Dr. Richard, the computer guru. I had to say that.
You got it.
This is Mr. Guidry, Angela, and her husband, Mike, in
Yeah.
Denver Nobles. He facilitates one of the two support groups for for NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. Demi, you want to say what times those meet before we forget?
Yeah, sure. Our NAMI Acadiana affiliate has meetings at First Lutheran Church, which is behind Ambassador Caffrey on Academy behind. Let me say that again. Academy on Ambassador Caffrey, First Lutheran Church is one block behind it. We meet first and third Sundays of every month at 6 till 7:30 p.m. It's open to anyone with diagnosis. It's a connection support group, and the family-to-family support group is across the hall for the family members who choose to attend and learn some stuff about mental health. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Denver. We have some musicians here tonight. We have Vaughn to our far left. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Vaughn?
Yeah.
Sure.
What songs are you going to be singing for us tonight?
Yeah, sure.
Come
yeah.
stand behind them.
All right, yeah. I'm originally from Texas, but I moved here about 10 years ago, and I've been trying to be a performing artist in the area for some time. I enjoy and love Lafayette. And
Oh, yeah. It's a great place to sing and do musical things, I bet. You moved here for that reason?
No, my family moved here before
Okay.
I did, and then, well, my father, about 10 years ago, was starting to suffer pretty badly from Alzheimer's. Now he is bedridden, and basically I spend a lot of my time as a caregiver.
Oh, wow. That's very
Okay.
stressful.
There's a routine with it. After a while, once you bounce into the routine, you kind of, you wear it, you're okay with it. I mean, yeah, I'd rather it be like this than any other way, you know.
Sure.
You just don't trust a whole lot of other people to take care of your family members
yeah.
sometimes.
No.
And my family sticks together real tight.
Well, we'll be looking forward to hearing your musical
Entertainment.
entertainment.
I'm looking forward to playing.
Excellent. All right. We have tonight with us somebody who would like to speak about postpartum depression. One of our guests tonight, Angela.
Hello.
We met in IOPay, and as soon as she heard I was doing a TV show on AOC, she said, me, I want to talk. I want to get my word out there. And that's an excellent thing. If we could reach people that are diagnosed and they realize that this is a good format to come out and help other people, it's just excellent. And I have high esteem for you for wanting to come on the show. I have high esteem for you. You know, I know I'm only going to get to know you for so much longer because you'll be out of IOPACE shortly, but I'm glad I met you.
Thank you.
And you are a wonderful girl, and your story really touched me right away. With my psychosis, I can relate to your psychosis, and you know, we're good people. We might have those bad thoughts or invasive thoughts, but gee, we know they're invasive. You know, we know that they're bad thoughts, and we know that we're better than those thoughts. So that's an excellent thing, very excellent thing.
Yes.
So, Richard, any prayers to
Well,
tonight?
yeah, my mother has dementia. It's not yet Alzheimer's, but I've been doing a lot of reading, and maybe Vaughn and I can talk afterwards on this, but
Okay.
she's having what they call twilight memory. Some days she'll remember things going back 6 months. Next day she can't remember what she had for breakfast. And she's in assisted living in Seattle, and she's under good care. So that's the good part. I also have a friend over in Lake Charles, Cheryl, that's going through a nightmare with the taxation and revenue. It's a very long, complicated, stressful story. She's going to have to meet with some senators and reps and all that, and it's just cost her a lot of stress. She's very up on NAMI and the Lake Charles chapter. I may send out a little feeler toward Dr. Dale Archer someday to maybe come our way
Yeah,
and do that.
great.
Any other prayer requests? I can't think of any at the moment.
Well, I'd like to request prayer for my father. We were able to get him in the Veterans Administration home yesterday.
Oh, good.
He'll be 88 the 31st of March. I'd like to get people to pray for him. And Bob really is working hard on trying to be what he can be, and we need to offer up prayer for him in
Yeah.
hopes that his book will turn into a huge success for
Oh,
him.
wow.
Yes, right now he's at the Writers Guild at Barnes and Nobles. If you've never gone, make it over there right now and go purchase one of Bob's books, because
right.
if you watch the show and you say, "Man, that Bob is great. I want to see what he's written." Now's your chance to go get the book at Barnes and Nobles. You know, from right now until 8:30 tonight, he'll be there at Barnes and Nobles. You can get your book signed and everything by him. So
Actually till
head
9.
out there till 9.
Well,
Okay.
there's some stragglers that'll hang in there till 9
Yeah.
o'clock.
Yeah, he'll be talking until 9
The
o'clock.
interesting thing is I got to meet some of the characters and individuals in his book. I'm up there in the senior offices there at the main bank where he banked at for years, there in St. Martinville, and we would run into people that knew him from all over, not just the powerlifting stuff, but
Right, right.
I said, Bob, you got to make a family tree so we can keep track of all
That's
your
what Bob
relatives.
does. He keeps, just like you, Richard, he keeps his contacts. And he
Yeah.
goes out there to make contacts, and he goes out there, he steps above and beyond what he really needs to do as a diagnosed person.
Oh,
He's
way
putting
beyond.
himself in the article for St.
News?
Martinville newspaper.
The Tesh News,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Tesh News.
Yeah, it's
He's
Tesh
putting an
News.
article in of himself
Right,
in the
right.
next following weeks. And now he's going to be doing a book signing at,
Atmosphere,
yeah, Artmosphere.
But
You
there's
said
one-
tonight?
yeah.
Okay.
There is going to be one at Planet Nutrition in about 3
Yeah, Planet
weeks,
Nutrition,
plus or
that's what I
minus
was
a
looking
week,
for.
on
Well, we'll try
Johnson
to keep
Street.
people abreast of that.
Yeah.
Planet Nutrition in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So, callers call in if you've been wanting to talk to me or Richard or Denver, or you have any interesting things you want to bring up. We're here for support, mental health support, and we'd love to hear from you tonight if you wanted to call in. So callers, don't fear calling in. We'll be happy to have you. So anyway, I've been having some intrusive thoughts lately. I feel like I am a little too hard on myself. Most people with mental diagnoses are hard on themselves.
Yep.
But I'm becoming a little more hard on myself than I need to be lately. I think because I was worried the other night that I didn't want somebody noticing that I was stupid, that I did stupid things, that I act stupid, that I miss out on noticing something laying on a table or something. So I wanted to hide myself from going out in public. And I told my boyfriend this, and we were at Home Depot at the time. We weren't even at home, so it made it hard and difficult. I feel like at Home Depot that if somebody came up to me and asked, "What are you thinking right now?" that I could just hit them, that I could just scream at them and I could just hit them. And of course, if somebody came up to me and asked me what I was thinking, I wouldn't do such a thing. I wouldn't hit somebody. I wouldn't yell at them. I would be my wonderful, loving self that I am, and I know I am. But I have these thoughts of, I must be a bad person because I've been diagnosed with a mental health disorder. So does anyone like to talk about that?
That's an excellent thought to have, though, because a lot of people with diagnosis, they're going to step up and say something that would be kind of rude and that sort of thing. But those that have been in recovery or in recovery, like myself, I would use it as an opportunity to express myself as about my own knowledge about my mental health and share it with them. you know, and in doing, while I'm doing that, then I'm bringing myself into the, back into the zone.
And why is it that you're able to do that? Because you do your research. You do your research
yeah,
on mental
absolutely.
health, and
Yeah.
you understand
Right,
what
right.
diagnoses are and what could be
Right.
said to you. You empowered yourself. I'm at a stage where I need to empower myself, so I don't feel like if somebody came up to
Right.
me and accused me of being crazy, that I wouldn't yell or scream at them. I would say something
Right.
and recant to them.
Well, that's one of the
Exactly.
biggest problems, you know, 25% of the population of the world has a mental health issue, and our biggest problem is our support system and our own personal education about what our diagnosis really is in black and white, so that we
Yeah.
can understand it. I mean, take the time to actually read your own diagnosis.
Yeah.
And of course, we all know that most of the people who are in the community who are getting certain types of treatment, most of them are a walk-in side effect of their medication. And there's really no reason for that, because here again, the more educated that the individual is, the better their recovery is going to happen, and it's going to come to them much easier, because they seeing something in black and white, whether you believe it or not, or whether you write
Oh, yeah.
something as a person with a diagnosis, that is what you absorb, because you're not having to confront anybody or yourself.
You're
You
not-
don't have to confront yourself. And a lot of people with diagnosis, you know, they say,
stewing
"Oh,
in
I'm
your
not
own
gonna-"
juices
Yeah.
and making up stuff like, well, if I'm schizophrenic, then I must have thoughts of hearing voices. I must, because I'm
Right.
schizophrenic. You're not
Right.
stewing in your own juices. You're
Right.
not.
Right.
You're not pretending you are something that you're not. If you're looking up for black and white information.
Right,
Right.
that's
You know?
exactly right.
Well-
And that's what, and that's here again, that extension of that, and I had just mentioned this to, sorry, Mike. That's right.
That's it.
I had mentioned this to Mike, that, you know, the number one problem that most mental health people have, and the number one stress that they have, is the fact that their friends and family members and those folks very close to them are not even educated in the simplest of terms
Yep.
about what that diagnosis is. And, you know, all they care about, well, if he's taking his medicine, he's going to be well. Well, there's a lot more to being well. You have to have people to support you, and those people definitely need to be in a place, here again, where that they're educated on the diagnosis and the side effects of the medicine. Some of the folks that are in those situations cannot advocate for themselves, and that's a big problem too. Most of those people do not have enough of education on both of those subjects to be able to advocate for themselves, even when they go in to see their doctor or their social worker or whoever they're involved with in the mental health system. You know, that's what recovery is about. Because, and one of the things I like to say about family members is those family members that take the time to learn about diagnosis and medications, the stress that they have about having that family member in their family is far less, because they're really in a place that they can understand what's going on with the
Exactly.
person. And believe it or not, stress is one of those things, especially with people with mental health issues, that filters down to the person with the diagnosis, because they start thinking things like, it's all my fault, or, you know, why did I have to get this? And is this really what's wrong with me? And,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, a lot of the negative thoughts come out. But if the family members are where they are, like I said, the stress that they have alleviates itself, and that also filters down to us.
I'll tell you what, Denver, it all makes sense now. It really does. I've
Yes.
been your mentee, or like you're my mentor. I don't know what would you
Yeah,
call me?
you're right.
You're my mentor, and
Yeah,
it all
you got
makes
it.
sense, because I just went to the library the other day and printed out black and white information on postpartum depression and on post-traumatic stress, and reading it and saying, okay, well, if this is the symptoms of having these two things. It's not everything else. It's not if you have post-traumatic stress, then you're a raging maniac that
Right. Exactly
chases
right.
cop cars, you know?
Right.
Like, it is what it is, and it's black and white. Is you may have hallucinations based on past events that were harmful and dangerous, and it could be that you were held up with a weapon, or in my case, violated many times in my life by animals and people, and I'm losing myself here.
What do you mean violated by animals?
I've been attacked several times by dogs. One time it was brought on to me by my mom's boyfriend. He had a dog attack me in a room where I was scratched up when I had chicken pox and licked all over the place, and just I was bloody, and I was from head to toe. Yeah.
Emily.
Yeah. And he was a heroin addict. So,
Oh, boy.
yeah.
I got attacked by 6 dogs getting off the bus.
Really?
Large, vicious dogs. And
I didn't know that.
all I knew how to do is scream at the top of my lungs and use my blind cane to poke them where it hurt. And finally heard the woman call the dogs off, but I was traumatized.
That's what PTSD, you just explained it,
Yeah.
Richard, in the simplest of terms. That is what PTSD is about you being in a place that something is happening totally beyond your control. And you're living it. You're living in that moment. When it's happening,
Yeah.
you're living in it. And so that also contributes to the PTSD. There's no doubt about that, Emily, about being attacked. And here again, you made a good point. My best friend, who's now passed, was held hostage in a hospital in a emergency room by a drug addict with a gun to his head for 2 days, and the cops finally convinced him to trade Larry's life for a carton of cigarettes.
Wow.
And it ruined his life. He was a registered nurse. He'd been a nurse for 22 years and stuff. And the PTSD just really ruined his life, And one of the blessings that he has, he was my closest friend, so we were able to get some help for him and be there for him in every opportunity and stuff. You gotta have people in your corner. I'm sorry. A person with a diagnosis just cannot do it by themselves.
They cannot.
We give everything that we can so that we feel like we feel good about our lives. And we just are not in a place to do it by ourselves. So people in the community, Richard and Bob mention the support groups all the time. It's on their business card. We're trying to reach out to you folks. NAMI Acadiana is here in Lafayette, and we have our own affiliate here, and we do our own walk, and we raise our own money, and we have our own support groups. We have trainings for people to become a support group facilitator like Emily is.
Can you say a little bit more on that? When the next time we're having a training is,
Well,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. The state office in Baton Rouge, we have a state office in Baton Rouge with NAMI. That office is the one that decides about the state trainings, about where they are and all that kind of stuff. And right now, the only thing that we are working on is we're trying to get the peer-to-peer education group. We've got people out in the community who took the peer specialist program, but it is not the same as NAMI peer-to-peer.
Caller in? Okay. Hello, caller. Oh, what do I do? What do I do?
Push.
Hold on 1 second, caller. Push, hello, caller?
Speaker.
I don't know how to use this. What should I have done?
You go to speakerphone if that's
Speaker.
on there.
Okay.
Okay.
Press it.
Tell them to call back.
Call back.
Okay, caller, call back. I'm so sorry.
We're learning all this technical stuff here.
I didn't know how to use it. I see Bob, he just presses one button. I picked up the phone. When a telephone rings, don't you just pick it up? Come on.
Call us back, 366-8950.
I didn't mean, hopefully that's
366-8950.
Oh, no.
Call us back. Well, there's an education class I took last year that was 12 weeks long, and the binder's about 250 pages. It's maybe even more up to date than what some of the doctors are getting, and
Like we
that
just had her.
basically saved a friend's diagnosis from getting worse. They
Right.
were put on a new med. They started getting these strange side effects, and I said, what do I push here?
Press speakerphone.
Which one is
Push
it?
that red button on the right.
The red button on the right.
Insight to mental health, question or comment, caller?
Hey, it's just Mike.
Hey, Mike.
It's kind of static on the phone right now.
Well, we're sorry we had a little technical problem. We're learning this whole thing without Bob here.
And we can't do it without Bob. Everybody knows that we cannot do this show without Bob.
He's
You
got,
guys gonna, like Bob always said, do your best shot, man.
Yeah,
Hey.
that's exactly right. That is the comment that he would offer up to us, is just do the best you can. And he's an expert at that. How you been, Mike?
Oh, I've been doing okay, taking care of some family business.
Yeah, well, we saw or heard from you on the show the other night with Jacob and them. Heard you had
Yeah.
called in, and I was watching because my son Jim was playing, and I heard you call in. You were talking about that. Did you get the chance to talk to Jacob after the show, like you said?
Yeah, you're supposed to call back tomorrow, so you can come by tomorrow.
Awesome.
cool.
Oh, well, that's great,
Yeah.
Mike. Yeah.
I written for my aunt and all again,
Yeah.
but this is what I think you right. You got stress from talking. Lucy lost her mom to cancer.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
show her how I wrote for my aunt and show for her mom also.
Wow,
Great to have a
Mike.
great support system. And now both of you, both Michael and Lucy come to our support group, and they are great members. We love hearing what they have to say.
Right now,
We love-
she's going to school 3 times a week now.
Oh,
Yeah.
St. Martinville, SEC,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
lobotomy.
Okay.
She's acing those tests, huh?
Yeah,
She's a hard studier. I'm impressed.
yeah.
Yeah.
well, yes.
We're glad to
Never
have
too late.
people who, here again, that's another thing I'd like to say about diagnosed people, Mike, is that they are very capable of going to school, going to college, working a job. They can live what is a good everyday life. And it's just part of their recovery. Here again, you have to be focused on that, where that you're not, being in a situation where you're hiding out or you're staying very afraid of just the everyday things and stuff that's going on. And yeah, Mike attends our support group from time to time, and we're always glad to have him.
Yep.
But but one thing I did try a long time ago was a POA, because I couldn't make no decisions for myself, because imagine I was on.
Right?
I think that's very important to talk about too. Like, get a decision for yourself,
Oh, absolutely.
have a little POA.
Yes, sir.
They make decisions for you.
Right.
Make decisions for you as well.
Right. And there's several different methods of doing that and other things that are kind of along those same lines. But yeah, we appreciate you, Mike. We gonna try to get on. We have a musician and we have a couple of people that need to talk some. Thank you for calling us.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, Mike.
I call her Robert later.
Okay, Rob. So, would we like to hear from our musician now? We're gonna get Jacob to put Vaughn. What's your last name, Vaughn?
Gordon.
Vaughn Gordon.
Yeah.
Vaughn Gordon, guys.
Got a good ring to
He's
it.
gonna be playing you wanna play the one that you were,
No, everybody's talking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Play that
Yeah.
one first.
Yeah.
I met him before.
Everybody's talking at me, but I can't hear a word they're saying. Only the echoes in my mind. People, they stop and staring, but you know I just can see them, only the reflection in their eyes. I'm going where the sun is shining through the pouring rain. I'm going where the weather suits my clothes. Turn my collar against the northeast wind and sailing on a breeze. I'll skip across the ocean like a stone. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You know, Vaughn, I grew up on that song.
I did too. Yeah, actually, that song was in 1969, one of the Grammy winners from the Oscar-winning movie Midnight Cowboy.
Oh, come on.
Right.
Yeah, that and the theme song Midnight Cowboy, those were two Grammy winners out of that movie. Of course, a lot of people that probably don't remember the movie. It was the first X-rated mainstream movie ever made.
I think
Yeah.
I remember it.
They've
Yeah.
tamed it down some since then.
Who actually wrote the song?
Harry Nilsson, yeah. Glenn Campbell's covered it a couple of times.
Now, Glenn Campbell is at the end stage of Alzheimer's. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
listened.
he's still in the news, and yeah, it's sad. But the thing is, he kept going, even though he knew he had Alzheimer's. He kept trucking
Wow.
and kept playing concerts, and you kind of feel a little bit sad because as a musician, you know, or performer, you forget a line or you forget a song, and you stumble at that point. It can be so embarrassing. But you know, as a performer, you risk it. You really
Yeah.
do. You
It's
have
a
to.
gift. It was a gift in essence. It's part of, like we talking about recovery as far as mental health goes. But that is the one thing that's really, it's working on my father, as a matter of fact, that the fact that he plays music. Those people that are really into their music and stuff, even though they might have Alzheimer's or some dementia or something coming on, most of them can still do
Yes.
right, perfect,
Yeah,
the tune
yeah.
perfectly, and you know, get the words right and stuff. And I think that's part of the thing that's extended his life, Glenn Campbell's life.
I believe
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, well, if you keep your mind active, you're probably going to keep your mind longer, regardless.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing about Alzheimer's is this, again, you talk about educating yourself as to what is this disorder. And Alzheimer's, really, it is a physical condition as much as a mental condition.
Exactly.
You get a plaque build up on the surface of your brain, as I understand it, and eventually it just suffocates and kills the brain from the outside in. Turns it into almost Swiss cheese. And I mean, people with Alzheimer's, their brain shrinks as it progresses.
Wow.
Some faster than others. I'm surprised my father has lived as long as he has, and as well. And I've been very, very blessed. I thank God in heaven and that
Yes.
he was never violent.
Yes.
He was a very calm, kind, and compassionate man when he was struck down with this. And he never got angry. He didn't have any outbursts. He was easy to get along with. He let us kind of help him out, and it was really easy. You know, a lot of people who have Alzheimer's, they get frustrated.
Yes.
They'll get angry and they'll lash out, and you know, they don't understand what's going on because you have Alzheimer's and you don't know you have Alzheimer's, or at least you forgot you had Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had a friend of my boss. I was working for a welding shop here in town, and apparently my boss's in-laws had one particular family member come down with Alzheimer's. And they asked if I could, tell them what it's like. They were like, we don't know what to deal with here. So I sat down with him one afternoon for about 30 minutes and just kind of put it in a nutshell. This is what you're going to expect. It does not get better. This is a disease that there is no recovery. You know, you slowly go and there's no turning back.
Well, one of the most important things about the show is exactly that. The musicians and stuff that we've had on here have had some type of experience with a person with a mental health issue, or have a family member of some, of some other diagnosis and stuff. And most of us know that Alzheimer's and dementia are really coming into the forefront when it comes to people's health. One point you made that was important to me, Vaughn, is a lot of people do not understand that any type of mental health issue is a physical health issue. People,
Oh, absolutely.
they cannot get a grasp on that. And the way I like to explain it is the brain is an organ. It is an organ.
Yeah.
And so therefore, whatever the chemical imbalance and stuff that's going on with it, that is a departure from whatever the chemical balances, the very sources of things that are boiling up and coming out, and that's how people misunderstand that a person who has a diagnosis who might do something totally different from anybody else. And so when you have the thoughts about that the brain is an organ, and the most important thing, we hear people criticize other folks about, well, I'm going to a psychiatrist. Well, guess what? A psychiatrist is a medical doctor who studied only the brain as an organ. And yes, some people are against medications and different things, but if you're going to be in a place, you got to go get help somewhere. So you might as well start with a psychiatrist.
Or a psychologist. Yeah, I mean, when I was in my early 20s, late teens, I kind of had my own little meltdown, but I really wasn't, I was having more of a problem with my personal life and the way I was, trying to just deal with what I thought was going on. And I was going to school, I was trying to become an auto mechanic, and I just kind of hit a bottom there. And, by the behest, of course, of my girlfriend at the time, I went to the MHMR in Texas, and for about a month there, I went for some counseling and eventually worked it out. And my problem was less, biological than maybe just, personal. But everybody's going to have a breakdown at some time or another. I mean, you have a death in the family,
that's
you're
right.
going to break down.
Everybody suffers from depression.
Everybody gets it.
Yeah.
And they're going to have it. Something's going to happen in your life. You're not going to be happy all the time. And something tragic will happen to you. Maybe more tragic than most other people. It will take a toll on you, emotionally and mentally.
Well, I think, those people here again, like yourself, that plays the guitar and sings, that is a mechanism that we use for recovery. Richard and Emily, y'all want him to do his second song now, or you want to go ahead and talk with Angela?
Angela, is there anything you want to share with us, being that you're our special guest?
I wanted to talk about the postpartum psychosis that I had.
Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
We're
Go ahead.
giving you the
Yeah.
floor, Angela.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can have the floor.
I remember you saying that you had some imagery when dealing with your postpartum depression.
Yes, I had thoughts of hurting myself. I had thoughts of hurting my baby, as well as my family, my husband and my kids.
Now, it sounded like in your case, it was kind of coming from a post-traumatic sense, that you had somebody pass away in your family, and it was just kind of lingering with you, the imagery of what could happen to you or your baby, and because it happened to your family loved one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not your fault. It's
No.
not your fault at all, right?
No, not at
No.
all. And I didn't know what was going on with me. I would think of these the intrusive thoughts. They would come. They wouldn't stop. It was just one intrusive thought that just would not stop. 24 hours a day. I'd go to bed with it. I'd wake up with it, and the thoughts just got worse. And
Right.
they were so scary. I didn't know what the heck was going on. I got to the point where I realized one day I was sitting on the couch, I was like, man, I haven't eaten in like a week. I was like, I must be, like, I like to eat, but I wasn't eating as much as I usually would. And I'm like, I must be depressed. And, and so,
Wow.
yeah, I was like, okay. So I
Wow,
got,
you thought it out in your head. That is a remarkable thing to do. You were definitely strong to do that, because here you are having thoughts of bad things, but you were able to still decipher, hey, I'm not feeling right. This isn't right. You know, I don't need these thoughts. I don't need to be not nourishing myself. Something's wrong. So when did you get help?
so, maybe a week after that, I dropped my children off at school, and I came home and I just sat in my vehicle, and I said, I can't go in that house. I cannot go in my house. I was like, I don't know what's going on with me. I said, but it's weird, and I need help. And so I called my,
It's like you know you can trust yourself. You're trusting yourself, but you don't know if you can trust yourself.
right.
I
thought-
experienced that. I trust myself, but I don't know if I can trust myself.
Right,
Right.
right.
With the thoughts, I mean, I want to be blunt. I mean, people out there that are in the same position we are, so I don't feel embarrassed to talk about this. I don't feel like it looks ugly on me, because I'm not an ugly person. You are not an ugly person. You are a
thank you.
sweetheart. I mean, your husband's a
Thank you.
sweetheart, too. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
yes,
ahead.
he is. Yes, I knew there was something definitely wrong. I didn't know what it was. I called my OB. I trust them, and they told me to come in right away. And I told them what I was experiencing, and they called a social worker from Oceans,
Excellent.
Oceans Mental Behavioral
Psychiatric
Hospital.
hospital.
Yes.
Behavioral
And-
health.
Yes.
in Broussard, and they came to interview me, and I went right after that, and
How long after the baby born was it that you actually ended up going to the OBGYN?
it was about 1 month.
Okay.
It was
Only
about
30
1 month.
days after giving birth.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
It was the day after Thanksgiving that the intrusive thoughts started coming. I remember.
Now, you mentioned the holidays. The holidays can be a very big factor in mental health situations and emotional health, because you're around family, and there are family members that are just not going to get it, no matter what, and you just stay there and educate, even if they don't seem to be listening. I have a friend whose daughter and her husband do not think there's such a thing as a diagnosis. And I just said, all you can do is leave some literature. Maybe someday there'll be a break in the conversation. It may not happen overnight, or if ever. They may be in denial of their own diagnosis. And basically, that's something that to be aware of. The holidays can bring a lot of this on. And I'm glad you were aware of that and got some help.
Yes.
What kind of stuff did you work on while you were at Oceans in groups and stuff? What was your focus for you, to kind of help you start coming back around to being yourself? What did you work on? What was the biggest deal?
I worked on getting better. I focused on getting better every day. I would tell myself, even though I was having intrusive thoughts, even though
You weren't with your
I felt-
baby during this time? I mean, you were
Right.
obviously really working on yourself,
yes, I told myself, I said, I'm getting better, even though I wasn't at the moment. I said,
Right.
I'm getting better. Every moment, I'm getting better. Every moment, I'm getting better. I focused on just being open and honest.
Oh, yeah, honesty goes
Yes.
a long way in mental
Yes.
health. If you're honest with yourself and your doctors, you will be in recovery. I'm telling you, if you can get it all out, all your demons out, you're gonna be sitting a lot better than if you're keeping them up inside and bottled up inside, not going to support groups, not interacting with family members, staying shut in because you have bad or intrusive thoughts. You're doing yourself an injustice. Seeking help, like Miss Angela did, was the correct thing to do. And in fact, right now we have up a support group for postpartum depression wellness support group. Join us on the second Thursday of each month. So the second Thursday of each month from 6:30 to 7:45. March 12th, March 9th, May 14th, 2015, location West Wing Conference Room, Lane Regional Medical Center, 6300 Main Street in Zachary, Louisiana. Fees none. There are known fees to go to the support groups.
There's no fees in any of the mental health programs. Most
Yeah.
of the mental health programs are free, and that's another one of the things that kind of keeps family members away, is they're afraid they're going to have to pay for it. Sorry to interrupt you, but there is a phone number and a facilitator for the group. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Emily.
Facilitator, Diana Leetard, Visilio. Telephone 1-225-658-1700. The Postpartum Depression National Hotline is 1-800-773-6667. That's 3 6s and a 7.
Well, I actually got to speak to her today, and we've made a connection in the future. She's very busy doing therapy, but there is a possibility of her coming here someday. She
Yeah.
said the need is extremely great for postpartum depression counseling. There's just not enough people doing it.
Right.
Just,
As-
and as in with mental health in general, but the stigma of mental health hopefully is going to start eroding more and more when people are informed
I
that the brain
think
is an
we,
organ.
the mental ill community, needs to not have stigma against
Ex-
ourselves. And that's where
exactly.
really it needs to start, because if we're saying, hey, wait a second, we're good people, we can go get help, this isn't shameful, then we'll be doing everybody a just service. We really would.
Exactly.
We'd be taking our medicines, we'd be talking to our doctors, we'd be loving ourselves more.
Most important thing about anyone that comes on the show, though, is most of us have lived the experience. And a lot of people, when they get into Angela's situation, and I over my years with friends and stuff, had women who suffer from postpartum, and if somebody didn't have a resource or a way of getting the information that we have posted on, they might go a long time and not get that help. And so it is exactly what you said, the workings that come in up through the mental health community itself, and advocating and getting the information out there helps people like Angela find programs or find support groups. None of the stuff that we do in the mental health community, you do not have to do anything alone. You do not have to do anything ever alone, because there's always a support group. And so we're really glad that we've got here again, Bob and Richard do this very well. They present different venues of mental health, different types of mental health. And so they give the people an opportunity to put it out in the community and everything. And so, we're glad that Angela's here, because like I said, I don't know the statistics on postpartum like I do some of the other stuff, but I know it's a big deal, especially a lot of mothers that are, this is their first baby kind of thing. I know a lot of mothers that have gone through that kind of, a lot of young ladies, and it is a big deal. It is no different than any other mental health issue. It is a big deal.
And ladies out there, if you're already diagnosed with bipolar, your odds are a little bit greater to get postpartum depression as well. So I know that I'm going to try to my best to be very aware of getting pregnant or not. It's to be aware of what you may be dealing with too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we got about a quarter.
Y'all want to give Vaughn a chance to do the?
Vaughn, would you like
Okay,
to try
Vaughn.
another song?
Sure.
Yeah, we're ready for Vaughn to do his second song for us. We're glad he's here.
Glad to be here. do one I call the Atchafalaya Bridge Rag.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing the family issue that you have going on.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of an extra insight into mental health, as we
Yeah.
say. We appreciate your music, and we appreciate what you contributed tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Vaughn, are you going to be at Atmosphere afterwards?
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking about it, actually.
I think you should.
I haven't been there in such a long time, it's kind of a different
Good night
place.
for it.
Yeah, it
Go
is.
meet
I
Bob,
might
man.
just make a cameo. I might.
Yeah.
just do it, you know.
Go meet Bob over there.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'd like to meet Bob.
Yeah.
I would
He'll
love
be
to.
there this book. Now, there's a court situation tomorrow for Atmosphere, so we all need to rally support. Because Atmosphere has nurtured a lot of musicians that I know personally over the years, so we need to show our support.
Yeah.
Vaughn, now, I'm trying to remember how we actually met.
I believe I know exactly when, because after you cold called me at lunch, just out of the blue.
Yeah.
And there I am, I'm just on the phone, and I'm like, oh, that voice. Faces and voices I can put
Yeah.
together real well. Names, I'm terrible.
I know.
I used to remember names real well, and then about, I don't know, it was right after I got married, I started losing that ability. I just didn't care
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, you called me, and I'm like, Richard, oh, wait, now I remember you, because I could put a face to the voice.
Yes.
And we met in the very front of Atmosphere one night, I know it's been about like 2 years at least.
2 years.
Yeah, I don't really go to Atmosphere maybe once or twice a year at the most. I've kind of moved to other watering holes in town.
Right.
Well, Richard is one of those people that's not hard to forget once you meet him.
No.
I remember your voice. Have you ever been on KRVS on any of the
No, I
morning
haven't.
shows?
And it's funny that you ask because about 20 years ago, I went back to college hoping that I could get a mass communications degree. I wanted to be a radio, TV, vocal personality, you know.
Have that
I wanted to
voice.
be that guy who had that job, you know, Bob would say, "Well, Don, where did he win?" "Well, Bob, a trip to Hawaii, a new car." That's what I wanted to do. But they wanted to make me into a journalist, and I don't like writing for newspapers. It's just a lot of work. So,
Well, thanks again.
thank
We're
you.
gonna have
Thank
you, we're gonna have you
Thank
back,
you for being
Vaughn,
with us.
and
I would be glad to be back.
I've heard you somewhere recently, I don't know where. Have you done any commercial work or radio
No,
work?
I have not.
You
No,
got the-
I
you have
haven't
the
done any
voice.
commercial work.
Yeah.
You have that voice.
We could do radio here at AOC.
I could.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've got lots of free time these days.
I'd be a radio partner with you.
We have a radio station, Cypress Street Radio. It's here.
Yeah.
35 a year to join. I mean, you can't beat this at all.
No.
Ed Bowie,
And that's the
Jake.
excellent thing about AOC. We have an outlet right now, right here, to do what we're doing, touching with the community, saying mental health is not a scary thing as we think and we paint it out to be. We paint it out to be this gruesome, scary thing, and it's not. It's us. It's where we're at. It's where 80% of the population is, and maybe more, right, Denver?
Yeah. I mean, you know, here again, the most prolific statistic is 25% of the population has a mental health issue. So that means 1 out of every 4 in a family very possibly may have a mental health issue.
Yeah.
And due to the unawareness and the education about the mental health area, the families are, they're just kind of left alone with themselves and have no ideas about where do they go to start or anything like that. And NAMI National has a helpline that you can call, and also Magellan Behavioral Health in Louisiana has established a warm line. I'm sorry I don't have those numbers with me, but there is an opportunity for people. If nothing else, please pick up the phone and call and talk to someone. Be like Vaughn was with the friends that he did. He was able to go and sit down and share. Even just 30 minutes of his time was worth more than any kind of money or anything that family could have gotten from him. And like Emily said, that's why this show is so very important. It's only an hour once a week, but how many people are really looking for help or have a desire to do something about their mental health? And so we encourage and invite people to really get involved with their family members, because mental health is not as devastating as a lot of people may think it is.
Right. There's support and help out there. You get that warm line number or no?
I couldn't find it. I don't know
couldn't
where. It's disappeared again. So.
Yeah. We'll have that for you next week, the warm line number. It's a suicide prevention hotline based out of Louisiana, warm line. It's national wide, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Magellan has warm lines in other states.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons. I was fortunate enough years ago to actually know the guy that established warm lines. He was a guy from Oregon that came to Louisiana when Katrina was here, and we started working on a warm line and stuff then. And of course, it took it from then until Magellan got here for it to be able to be established, which again is another big thing about mental health, is it's very time consuming. And
Hey, Bob.
and it's in a situation where,
What do you know?
yeah, Bob, it's in a situation where we're trying to do what we can. We got Bob back with us now.
Come on.
There's about 7 more minutes left.
I went to the Writers Guild. I had to go. I read part of my book. I sold the book, so I turned it over to Richard and then Emily and
Mr. Vaughn. I have not seen Mr. Vaughn in 2 years.
That's great. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Glad to meet you, Bob.
Glad to meet you
This
too,
is
Bob.
really
Pleasure.
an incredibly, he's got Alzheimer's, and I'm learning about my mom's situation. But he has a radio voice. I knew I heard him somewhere.
Yeah,
We met 2 years ago at Atmosphere.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm going to Atmosphere tonight.
Well, we're all heading over there.
Yeah. That's
Yes.
great. Tilly and Kristen are in the car waiting for me. That's great. Devin, you going to Atmosphere tonight?
I don't know, Bob. I'll have to talk to my boss.
Okay.
He didn't come with me to be on the show.
Yeah, I understand.
I'll have to get with my boss.
Well, it looks like everything worked out all right, man.
Well, what we're grateful for is the fact that you came and tried to do some time with us on the show.
Wow,
A lot
that's-
of people here again. We talk about Bob, and we talk about Bob because he is a true representation
Yeah.
of what mental health is about and where you can go in your life. It's not
Yeah.
very often that you meet a guy who has schizophrenia,
And a
who
book.
has been producing a show for 10 years.
Shirley?
And he's written his first book. He's already almost finished
not there
a
anymore?
second book. And so when you want to talk about mental health, you have to give those people who have diagnosis opportunities to be able to allow them to capitalize
Right.
on themselves.
Right, and
And-
if you're a family
found it?
member and you have somebody who's diagnosed in your family
Yeah.
or a friend that's diagnosed, make sure you know that they,
Okay.
make sure that
Okay,
you
okay, I will.
let your diagnosed person know that they're okay and they're all right and they're not monsters. Like,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
the best advice I can give.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to say that if you're diagnosed out there